Hello everybody and welcome, all thanks to LD Mobile. This is NBL Overtime. Game 1 in the books. The Wildcats steal home court advantage and it sets up a huge weekend starting Friday night at RAC Arena. Hashtag NBL Overtime, hashtag NBL 20, hashtag C. Incredible. And obviously, you know, it's around March because all of a sudden, Homicide's repping his old college gear. How you doing, big fella?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
You excited?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Let's bring Liam into the play. How you guys doing?
Hey.
You know, I didn't see anything.
Hang on, before you go any further, I know you're excited, aren't you?
I'm excited.
All right, excellent. There's two of us.
It's been crazy. I mean, it's been a rollercoaster week, right? We had the end of the semi-finals, started the grand final series, and a road team stealing an opening win of the series. Been a massive week.
All right, go on. Talk to us. Why aren't you excited?
I mean, what did we see that we didn't expect? What was the record in the regular season?
3-1.
Oh, 3-1 favor who?
Perth.
Okay. Did the defense change in the grand final, game 1?
Oh, I tell you what, might be a bit of monitor work before the day's out.
Did the defense change?
Well,
was he getting the same looks?
Well, NBL.com.au, 5 takeaways from game 1. Liam Santa Maria might have opened with that. So you're not excited because you expected
that was the same result. If you come with the same defense and they're 1-3 against the defending champs, and he's averaging 33, and they play the same defense, what are we excited for?
For a man not excited, he's excitable. We're going to get to all that and plenty more. There will be some monitor work, hashtag NBL Overtime. But let's look. Sunday afternoon, Kudos Bank Arena, huge crowd, and it was a ripping contest. And of course, in the end, the Wildcats get the win behind Bryce Cotton. And, well, we're going to get to two men very shortly. Bogut and Lisch, who played particularly well, but it was Bryce Cotton's day. He was outstanding. Liam Santa Maria.
Yeah, he was. And this is what we're used to seeing from Bryce Cotton, putting points on the board, especially against the Kings. He did that. Sean Bruce was big. In fact, the Kings were, for the most part, really good. Despite Cotton getting his looks and guys like Steinel getting their looks and knocking them down, this Kings team led by double digits late in the third quarter. And they had opportunities to win the game, including on the final possession. And it was a cracking way to open the series. And, wow, the Wildcats just continuing to make finals, make grand finals, and hoist trophies. And they are 2 wins away.
You know what Perth do exceptionally well? They close quarters. You mentioned that. There was about 2 minutes ago when the Kings led by 11 in the third quarter, which you might see a little bit in a moment. They close quarters so particularly well. This is where they went on that bit of the run. Here we go, 2:45. They obviously score here. That big dunk by Lazada. They're 10 up. And Perth just continually back themselves in, led by Trevor Gleeson. And this is what happens. They give themselves an opportunity. Rather than lead going from, say, 10 or 11 to 15, it's back to 5, 6 or 7, and the momentum has 100% drastically changed.
Listen, what the whole league knows and understands, home or away, you have to play 50 minutes of good basketball to beat this team. They're battle-tested and proven. You give them a sniff, they're going to take advantage of it.
Did you say 50 minutes?
Yes, that's how hard you have to play.
Okay, so you got to be good in warm-ups.
Every possession.
All right.
Do not give them a sniff. It's going to take that much effort and energy from you to beat this team.
Enormous shot.
Massive.
Huge shot.
Hasn't hit a 3 since early December.
Correct.
And then goes bang.
Yeah.
That's Damian Martin.
You know what? He did that last year. As we look at that, we're going to get back to that in a split second. Remember that against Melbourne in Game 3? And Melbourne played really well in Perth, and Damian Martin hit a huge three-pointer that ended up holding on to home court advantage, winning that game when they won it a couple of days later. But that's what he does. That's why he's one of the greatest of all times. Let's go back to that last shot. We're going to talk plenty of Casper Ware, but let's go back to this, and I want to hear from you and Liam, of course. Here we go. Gets to look at it. Looked nice off the hands. What did you make of it?
Well, firstly, how's Tarico White missing 2 free throws twice the game? Incredible that they had that opportunity. But to be honest,
I like the commentary by Homicide actually after he missed.
He's like, oh my goodness. To be honest, I feel like the Kings, Jay-Sean Tate, Casper Ware, they approach those final moments. Now, the adrenaline's flowing, the blood's rushing, all those things are happening. They approach those final moments in that final possession like they were down 3. You're not. You're down 2. There's plenty of time on the clock, and you've got an opportunity to attack the rim. Jay-Sean Tate with Jesse Wagstaff in front of him in transition, it's those moments are a big reason why he's an all-NBL first-teamer, because nobody can guard him in those situations. I'm going to pick probably a dozen people in the league I would prefer guarding Jayshawn Tate in that moment than Jesse Wagstaff. No disrespect to the 5-time champ, but that's a moment where he needs to attack the rim, put the pressure on the defense, put the pressure on the officials, tie the game, go to OT, and win in front of your home crowd.
Are we talking about just...
You talk about whatever you want. You know what? Let's talk about Casper Ware.
He's had a very bad postseason. That's just the reality of it. This is an elite point guard. We know what he brings. Since he's been in this league, he's been a shining star. He's been the best point guard in the competition since he's been here. He's just not playing like that in this offseason. And if he doesn't get his act together, this thing is going to end real soon. Real soon.
I actually don't mind the looks he's been getting as well, which is, I think, the most surprising thing. We've seen him do it for a number of years in the league, championships, All-NBL first teams, runner-up last year, again, All-NBL second team this year. The looks he got in game one, now they're tough. It's not like he's wide open. There's also shots we are so accustomed to seeing him make. And I agree with you. Tate should have probably attacked the rim on that last one, overtime at home, maybe hit a three on the road, that old theory. It's also a shot we've seen Casper Ware make at different times. Was it the best shot in the moment? Probably not. But it's not one we're like, what the hell is Casper Ware doing to try and ice this game?
Yeah, when Tate had it, there was heaps of time.
I agree.
When he handed it over to Casper, there's still 4 seconds on the clock. There is time to get to the rim. As I said, put some pressure on the officials, and he went ahead and missed his 10th three for the game.
Let's talk Bryce Cotton. Again, and so well we should, because we spoke about this time last week when he went to game one against Cairns and just dropped 42 coming off being crowned the MVP. And yet again, on Sunday, he just showed us why he is and was crowned the best player in the league this year, standing up and dominating. And it is so fun to watch him do this in big moments, continuing to solidify where he ranks, not just this year, but that conversation maybe of one of the greats that have ever visited and played in this NBL.
I mean, what I loved about the way he attacked is that Coach Gleason came with the game plan. We know how they're going to drop off of you and play, so we're just going to continue to attack that and make them pay, and that's exactly what he did. You know, I mean, when they tried to switch and sometimes put a 4-man on him, what's that going to do? That's a big guarding a mosquito. You can't stay in front of him, and the drop is still so deep, he's still able to get that shot off, and all the big shots he hit in the fourth quarter, he used the center to set the screen, because regardless of how aggressive they're playing him on the ball, guess what? Once they set that screen, all he needs is a couple of centimeters, an inch, a tenth of an inch. He's knocking that down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even right there, when he came off, he took the mid-range shot. Bogut didn't even have a hand up because he anticipated him beating him going to the basket. So he jumped back. Mid-range elbow shot there. This is as clutch as you are going to get. If you do not double-team this man, this thing will be over in a week.
Yeah, if you continue to... I disagree if you do not double-team him. There's a few different things that they could do. But I agree with the premise, which is if you continue to allow him to get what he wants and to get to his spots in the fashion that they allowed that to happen in that game, then you're going to lose the series. But yeah, let me build on what you were saying there about Trevor Gleason, because I like the play they ran on the very first possession.
We're going right to it.
Well,
AI
yes.
cut, screen on the right, turn it, and get that mid-range bucket. We're not playing no games. We're attacking you off the rip.
Yes, and what I liked about it was it gave the Wildcats a chance to see two things right off the bat. How are they guarding him off the ball? How are they guarding him as he's coming off those picks? Are they going to switch those picks? Are they going to sit on the high side, force him to the rim? And have they made an adjustment to what they do with Bogut? He got to see both of those things on the first possession. They liked what they saw, and they just kept milking the cow. And I tell you what, Bryce Cotton, I mean, everyone's been sort of waxing lyrical about Bryce Cotton all week. I go back to the moment at Summer League a couple of years ago when after he put 45 points on the board in the grand final, led that team to the championship, no one expected him back in this league. He goes to Summer League, plays for the Atlanta Hawks, and bumping into Trevor Gleason the night after he got Bryce's signature. And the smile, you don't see Trevor Gleason smile very much, but the smile on his face was absolutely enormous as he was strolling the casino floor, because he knows that guy is a cheat code in this league. And you are going to be right there with winning the title year in, year out if you've got him on your roster. And not only did they re-sign him that year, they signed him to a 3-year deal. Unbelievable, and so good to watch him in our league.
If, and I say if because there's a lot of games left.
Go
If Trevor Gleeson and the Perth Wildcats win this NBL title, how many championships would that be for him?
3. For Cotton?
No, for Gleeson.
5.
5. What coach in this league has more than 5 championships?
George, 6.
6.
Only
okay.
1.
Okay.
So Gleeson and Curl both have 4 each right now.
Okay. All right. I hold off
Superstar.
for what I'm saying, but carry on.
Okay, let's get to Andrew Bogut and Kevin Lisch, who were both particularly good on the weekend. They've had their struggles at different times over the course of the year. 18 and 12 for Bogut, 17 for Kevin Lisch. Although, interestingly enough, not on the court at the end of the game when the whips were cracking and they looked big basket. But Andrew Bogut was really good. And I'll start with you, Liam. Mm-hmm. It's a much more comfortable matchup, I think, against Plumlee. They'll bump and grind, 2 big men inside just going at it rather than having to chase Sean Long, who can be perimeter-based. And it just felt off the top like a different, more rested, healthier, energised Andrew Bogut.
Let's be honest, he completely monstered
He did.
Miles Plumlee in the opening half. And there were a couple of moves he went to during that period of time where he just looked like, I'm just way too good for you mode. Just give me the rock. I'm going to work on this guy. And Plumlee obviously sitting deep in the hole. Bogut gets a running start, lands a blow on him and knocks him out of the way. And Kevin Lisch as well. 17 points, 4 triples. Was shocked to see him not on the floor in some big moments down the stretch. He was enormous for them. And hey, don't write the Kings off just yet, especially if Kevin Lisch is going to continue to play at this level.
I just want to ask you about Kevin Lisch, and we did watch this last year where Casper Ware chased Bryce Cotton around for the entire grand final series, 4 games, and Trevor Gleeson perfectly just kept bumping Casper. Screen here, they made it difficult, and it did hurt him offensively. He wasn't overly effective 12 months ago for Melbourne, as he wasn't on Sunday. Is there an opportunity now to maybe make a switch and have Kevin Lisch, a great defensive player, go to Cotton and try and see if he can re-energise Casper Ware at the other end?
I think we're going to see way less of Ware on Cotton and way more of Lisch, Bruce and Lozada.
All right, before we get to the monitor quickly, what did you make? Andrew Bogut, of course.
Andrew Bogut had a big game, extremely impressed with his performance in Game 1. Gave Miles Plumlee work at both ends. 12 rebounds, 18 points. Very impressed with his performance. Kevin Lisch, the same, especially in the third quarter where he scored 12 points of his 17, 3 threes. He was big for him. The thing for me is the depth of the Sydney Kings, why it could be a gift or a curse. Because a lot of times we see some players hit key shots and then they get subbed out. He has a rotation. Will Weaver's going to play all 12. So whether you hit a couple of shots or not, when it's time for you to come out, you're coming out. And I believe that's going to hurt them.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Let's get over to the LD mobile monitor. Liam Santa Maria, Perth Wildcats defence. We talked so much about Sydney and the way they play. What can you tell us about the Wildcats?
Well, we've got a lot to talk about in terms of how these teams are guarding each other. Let's start with a look at how the Perth Wildcats are guarding Casper Ware, because I think they've had a lot of success in showing him different looks. You see here, this is the first possession of the game for the Kings. Hard show from Miles Plumlee. From what I saw, this was the one and only hard show they gave Casper Ware all game long. So first possession, let's jump out. This is part of the reason why they didn't go back to it, because you end up with looks like that. This is what he saw a lot of, though. So they run some pistol action to get the switch. They like Bryce Cotton on Casper Ware. Look at this. Deep drops. Drops coverage. We talk about the Kings playing drops coverage on everybody, and especially Bryce Cotton. This is what Casper Ware saw possession after possession this game. Now, they mixed it up a little bit, but it was a lot of this. But the difference between Ware right now and Cotton against this coverage is Cotton is more than happy to go to work in this area. Ware, less so. Roll the tape. He's more like threes or right at the rim, and the rear contest is worrying him out of that shot. Here you see again, pause this. This is the other thing that the deep drop coverage allows you to do. And this is what people forget about with the Sydney Kings, where they think the deep drop coverage is not just on for on balls or dribble handoffs. It allows you to play a certain way the whole possession. So because Plumlee's in the paint, Mitch Norton can play high side of Casper Ware. Now, it's counterintuitive. The whole life you're playing basketball, you're told, stay between your man and the rim right? Well, they don't need to do that because they can force all the action here into the paint. So this is what Casper Ware's dealing with. Watch Mitch Norton point here. He's like, I'm sending him for a back cut, but he knows he's got help there. And this is what made life a little bit difficult for Casper Ware. Again, here you see he comes off, pause it here. That's the screeners, man. Deep drops, if he can get into this area, he can have a little bit more success, I think. The other thing that Casper Ware needs to realise is that this nail man, Nick Kay's gutting Didi Luzada here. If Ware can identify that early, he can find shooters on the weak side.
Just before you... That's a good look. I find that to be a good look for Casper Ware. I know that they didn't go down and they haven't gone down, and we'll probably shout out Shaylee a little later in the show at some point. But I don't find that to be a bad look. I understand you talk about being aggressive and getting into the mid-range. I get that, or maybe finding Didi, but there's no hand, and this is a guy who's been all NBL first team and has a championship under his belt. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking and thinking I'm so surprised about, because there's shots that I expect Casper Ware to make.
I've got an interesting question about that, because I showed in something I wrote during the week some clips of Casper Ware against this type of coverage for Melbourne United, where he was a lot more aggressive getting into this space, drawing fouls, feathery floaters, pull-ups on a dime, and putting up big numbers, collapsing the D, finding offensive players. I wonder, how much will Weaver's conversations to his teams about what are the best shots for the Kings have taken Casper Ware a little bit out of his comfort zone, where previously he would do a lot of work in this area of the floor, whereas now he feels like he comes off those things and has to hoist it from the three-point line.
Coach, guess what? This is what I do. I don't just shoot threes. I'm not hitting them. Let me be me. I've been doing this. You're new in this league, no disrespect. This is a relationship. Coach, I do this as well. Look at that MG. Not a player there. Turn that corner and go take. You can't take Majuk. Come on, man. Coach, I do this. Let me do what I do. Straight up.
And what I think,
we at the end of it. If I need to get buckets for us to have a chance to win. I'm 0-10 from the three-point line. That ain't a good shot for a guy 0-something. Get to the basket and get something else going. You're just not a shooter. You got everything. Use it. Don't just sit there and shoot shots you ain't making. You've been struggling from the three-point line all year. If nothing else, hezzy, to the rack, floater, use your body, create contact, bucket, free throw line.
Yeah.
Give me something more than you giving me.
Yeah.
If that man is telling you shoot threes, coach, look here. Let me do this. Straight like that.
And we're going to be able to tell in the opening couple of minutes in Perth on Friday night whether that conversation has taken place. Now, it might be Casper Ware initiating that conversation.
Somebody got to initiate. Coach, let's go
talk about it. Let's roll the vision. Have a look at this. I think we've got maybe one or two more clips here to show some more of this. Now, this is another look they gave. This is Mush. He's mushing that action, Miles Plumlee. So they're mixing it up. Miles Plumlee's giving him a few different looks. And this, look at this. Drops coverage on not just Casper Ware, but also Kevin Lisch, and he punishes him for it. So I think the thing that I found really interesting about breaking those clips down was the Kings have been talked about for their drops coverage all year and criticised and broken and critiqued and all these kinds of things. This is a defensive scheme. This is not Will Weaver. This is happening all over the world. It's happening in this grand final series from the other team.
I said what I said.
Yeah, no, I'm going to ask you a question before we get to Liam Santamaria back at the monitor. Is Casper Ware the most important person in this series?
100%. You can't have your elite starting point guard 1 for 14, man. 0 for 10 from the three.
Is it a good or a bad thing that Bogut and Lisch, who we spoke about earlier, played really well and played their best games maybe for the year, yet they still couldn't get the W? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or does it show that
Casper Ware got to get off?
No Casper Ware getting off.
You're losing. Come on, man. This league, as the two most coveted positions in the NBL, point guard, center. If your point guard ain't getting off, you ain't winning. Period.
You could argue, though, just quickly, Casper Ware didn't go off at all against Melbourne. They still got the job done. And Bogut didn't really play. His game 3 was much better.
Who they playing against, man?
But they're playing against Perth. I understand that.
The defending champs.
Yeah.
Who is he guarding?
He is. Who's Casper guarding? He's guarding Bryce Cotton.
Well, guess what?
I don't
if
think
nothing else, you better break even. Because if you make negative 30, you're losing every game. You are losing every game. This thing will be over in a week.
Where's your broom, janitor? Where's your broom? I'm surprised.
I'm hoping that they at least understand this coverage will not work, and they're going to adjust in game 2.
All right,
I'm going to believe. I would hope to believe they've learned their lessons from the 5 games with the 1-4 record, that their defense is smoke and mirrors versus this team. It just does not work, and they come with something different.
Liam, monitor, LD Mobile, Sydney D, adjustments.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about take a little closer look at how the Kings are guarding Bryce Cotton and those drops coverages, because pause this right here. This, for me, was a massive moment in the series. People talk about Will Weaver. Hey, make some adjustments. You're so stuck in your scheme. Midway through the third quarter of Game 1 of the Grand Final Series, with his team up 5, Will Weaver brought out something that he hasn't shown all year. Andrew Bogut guarding Damian Martin. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this because it was highly successful. After 3 or 4 possessions of nothing, Trevor Gleeson called a timeout. The Kings made a sub, brought Kickett in for Bogut, and he did exactly the same thing. This is where the Kings pushed this thing out to 11. It played Damian Martin, 5-time champion, 6-time Defensive Player of the Year, the heart and soul of this team, off the floor. Gleeson had to take him out of the game because they were going to lose if he didn't. And so this is what it does. It keeps Bogut at home. It's like he's guarding a non-shooting centre, because that's essentially what Damian Martin is out there on the floor right now. Massive adjustment, and we're going to see a lot more of it. Here is a little bit more of an example of what it does. You want to the idea is to make someone else beat you. Ideally, Damian Martin, Mitch Norton, these kind of guys to beat you, and this is exactly what this did. Now, pause this somewhere around here. They brought in Kickett. He's now guarding Damian Martin. And what it does is it allows these guys, they've got Didi Luzada on Jesse Wagstaff. Fine, that's not a problem. That could be Brad Newley on Jesse Wagstaff. That could be Brad Newley. Honestly, that could be Brad Newley on Nick Kay off the tip. You could guard Andrew Bogut on Damian Martin off the tip. They may even do that. Roll this vision, and you see Damian Martin's finding a way to get involved. Damian Martin is the man who ends up shooting. He's a 19% three-point shooter.
You live with that.
You live with that, even though he hit that one in the corner.
That's the irony of some of this as well.
Again, here you see, pause this here. This is the other thing this adjustment does. You want to make the Wildcats go to something offensively that's not Bryce Cotton, that's not Tariko White. Take them out of their comfort zone. And making Jesse Wagstaff a post target is, if they want to do that,
You live with that.
against anyone. Jesse Wagstaff post ISOs against Sean Bruce, that is not a high efficiency possession type. So they drop it in, Kickett stays at home, his head's on a swivel just to make sure Damian Martin's not going to get a layup, and they get another stop. I think we're going to see a whole bunch of this strategy the rest of the way. Now pause this here. Damian Martin was pulled off the floor. He eventually brought him back into the game midway through the fourth quarter, and the Kings went back to this strategy, but this is where I feel like they made a key error with their matchups. It can't be it can't be Cooks on Martin. It needs to be the man you're trying to keep at home, which is Kickett. So that needs to be Kickett on Martin, Cooks on Plumlee. And the reason is because when it ends up in a Plumlee-Cotton pick and roll, Cooks can be at the level of the screen. He can show, he can double, he can mush, he can do all those things you want them to do. Kickett or Bogut can't do that. If you bring them to the point of the screen, they're going to be like giraffes out there. But because they made that mistake, Cotton hit that three, got his mojo flowing again, hit the step back three a couple of possessions later. I think the Kings are going to look at that vision and go, that looked really good for us. And I don't think the adjustment is to not play drops coverage with Kickett and Bogut. I think the adjustment is more of that. Let's have Cooks and Tate and Newley and Luzada and these guys up at the point of the screen, and we can do some fun things with those guys.
There it is, all thanks to LD Mobile. Liam Santamaria at the monitor. Big shout out. Xavier Cooks was really good as well. Clint
I love
Steindl
Xavier
was great
Cooks.
as well at the other end.
I love Xavier Cooks' energy. I believe in the semifinals, Game 3, Xavier Cooks and Jayshawn Tate, their energy and their effort. It reminded me of a young Mika Vukona. Their energy and effort was unmatched. And as a result of that, Barlow, 2 fouls. What was the third import that Melbourne United had? Stan Kidd, 2 fouls. Everybody that came in, 2 fouls, 3 fouls. It was just the energy was unmatched by those 2 young guns in Cooks and Tate. So shout out to those 2 guys for their efforts. I don't believe that tactic will work because there's no way Gleason is going to keep Damian Martin just on the perimeter to shoot threes. He'll just send him to set a screen, an open screen on Bryce Cotton. Who's going to end up on Cotton? Nobody, because Bogut is underneath the basket.
Well, do you know what they're going to do in that situation? And that did happen. I didn't show that clip, but they sent Martin to be the second screener on the double drags. Bogut's like, cool, I'll come up. I'll come up in that situation. You know why? Martin's not a lob threat.
Right.
Martin's not a threat to get behind him like Plumlee or these guys are. So he'll come up to the point of the screen in that. The thing is, I like that because it puts the onus back on Trevor Gleason.
Right, to make a move,
right.
no doubt.
And then the other thing it does is keep Martin and Norton off the floor, which is what he did. Go Cotton, White, Steindl, Kay, Wagster. Cool, because then you don't have either of those guys guarding Casper Ware down the other end.
All right, we'll get to our predictions very shortly for the weekend ahead. Just quickly, of course, Cairns and Melbourne, less than a week ago, lost Game 3s on the road. Both had opportunities in the fourth quarter to be able to get there. We'll start with Cairns. Scotty Machado, by far the biggest thing of the offseason the Cairns need to do and get that signature?
They have to re-sign him. They got to re-sign him. They need to re-sign Space. They got to figure out how to keep all 3 of them if they can. Good luck with that.
Run it back.
Run it back. They had a successful season. You know, they exceeded expectations, and credit to the Cairns Taipans front office and their team for the hard work and the success that they've had. This team has been resurrected.
Free agency still a couple of weeks away. What are you hearing, Liam Santamaria?
I'm hearing very positive signs about re-signing Scott Machado.
Okay.
Which is really great. One thing I'd like to see the Taipans get done in the off-season, I'd like to see Mojave King at the Taipans as the next star, as an Aussie next star. We've got to get him into the league. That would be great. We spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, and the EuroLeague team's knocking on his door. I feel like the Taipans might be a good spot for him to land.
And Melbourne United, who obviously had to win double on that last weekend just to make the playoffs, had that huge win last week in Game 2, had their opportunities to win Game 3. What's the most pressing question here for the off-season for Melbourne United?
I personally would like to see them sign Sean Longback and Melo Trimble. And I'll tell you why. I believe they matured as the season progressed. And they didn't get the result that they wanted, but I feel like if they were to come back, they'd pick up right where they left off. And the fact of the matter is, you could actually have Melo come off the bench.
That'll be the big
He
question
likes
mark.
that role. So it's like...
If he does like the role, then it kind of
He relishes in that role.
He does relish. Now, if he likes it and relishes, it's a 2 different conversation. But if he does enjoy and he's happy to play that role, which he played so well, then that is a conversation I think bring him back, almost run him back similar, because their best basketball, no doubt, was that last 3 weeks of the year.
Chris Golding, obviously a massive name coming off contract.
He's a free agent.
And
I forgot.
Aussie superstar.
Nah, you got to bring back Chris Golding.
You got to get that done. I found Vickerman's comments in the post-game presser after.
Didn't even see it or hear it. What did he say?
He said, he was asked, what did you kind of learn about yourself or the team this season? And he said, I got to stay true to myself. I've been a guy who's had defensive-minded players my whole life, and we went away from that this year, and I feel like we've got to get back to that. Now, what does that tell us about re-signing those imports? Who knows? We'll see. They certainly were a call or 2 away from making the grand finals.
This is what I'm saying. They make the grand finals, right? They make the grand finals. Whatever happened in the regular season, the growing pains, you forget all about that, because guess what? You're right back to where you were last 2 seasons.
All right, in 40 seconds.
And hopefully,
yes,
Casey Prather comes back healthy.
Yeah, true.
That was the story right there.
All right, you got 30 seconds. Game 2, Game 3 on the horizon. What happens this weekend in your mind?
I'm not sure. It just depends on the adjustments that the defense has to make in Sydney Kings.
All right.
They make an adjustment, they have a chance to win the game.
You sit on that fence. What do you got? What do you think?
I think this thing goes 5.
I agree. I don't think there's any way in hell we're sitting here next week and the season's over. No.
But I tell you what, this is an enormous game for the Sydney Kings because if you go 2-0 down in the grand final series, it's pretty much curtains for you.
Do you reckon Will Weaver will tweet you over the next couple of days or not?
Chopping wood?
Yeah, chopping wood. #See Incredible. See you next week. Friday night in Perth. Can't wait.